So Tyler,
Yo,
what if Caleb Williams and Bo Nix kind of sucks?
I'll be extremely happy. Oh, Bo Nix is who we wanted all along. We tricked him into taking JJ McCarthy. Yeah, right. Douche. Douche. Sorry. Okay. Flashbacks to when we beat them in the Minneapolis Miracle. Um, Hello and welcome back to V-Hawks podcast. I have pulled my hair out all this week based on all the craziness of the games. But hey, at least one of those crazy upsets was my team taking down the Niners. I'll take it. How you feeling, Matt?
Eh, Crazy week. Pick'em didn't go too hot, but what can you do?
Yeah, I have a feeling we're just gonna do worse and worse. But hey, we have winning records, so it's really all that matters.
For now. Because I
Stay
think,
above 500.
yeah, I'm 21 and 11 now.
I am 23 and 9.
Okay, so I'm not too far back.
Yeah. No, not at all. Like I said, we only picked two different last week, and then I ended up switching two, because I texted you the day before, and it ended up all four of those games going my way. So, but
And
you beat me by two week one.
we are now putting in a rule that unless it's because of an injury, we cannot switch after we make the prediction video.
Yep.
And also on talking after the Tua news. Hopefully, he'll be better. But we will both be switching our AFC East division picks to the Bills.
Correct. Also, I would like to add significant injury to a starter, but also, what if we have a coordinator fired or a coach fired?
It has to be like major injury.
Well, like last year when Matt Canada was fired, like that would be something that I would consider this year as being like that's major enough for me to pick that team. You know what I mean?
It can't be like the conditioning coach, or it has to be a coordinator that
OC,
has,
DC, or head coach.
but they have to be at like a specific part of the plan. Like you can't fire the DC with a head coach that focuses on defense
Yeah.
and switch. Now, if you have an offensive coach or head coach firing their DC, okay, or if you have a defensive head coach
Yeah.
firing their OC,
That's what
potentially.
I mean. Tomlin is defense.
It has to be enough of a difference.
There you go.
It can't be a game that you were already like, I don't know, and then that's what switches you.
I mean, if I was picking against the Steelers and then the Steelers decided to fire Matt Canada, I would probably pick the Steelers to win the game because
Okay,
they actually
we'll put this in the Bible laws. It will be debatable. It can be
sounds good.
argued for the switch.
Yeah, we at least get to text each other about it anyway. So
You can't just say I'm switching because of this. All right, bye.
there you go.
Okay.
All right. Well,
As I mute myself. All right. So what we're going to be doing for today's reaction of week two. There's a lot of one and one teams. There's a lot of 0 and 2 teams. I'm going to be going through some of the major storylines, and Tyler is either going to say it's time to panic or hit the panic button. His hands hovering over the panic button. It, not yet, but getting close, or he's not panicking, or some jumblation of all those words. Um, Probably for the easiest one, before I start, shout out Quentin Johnston getting 2 touchdowns in this game with the Chargers, but the Carolina Panthers, specifically Bryce Young.
Is that clear?
But
Did you not hear all the banging?
no,
What about this?
no,
Interesting. Here?
no.
Okay. Well, for those who can't understand, I was banging on the table, and
Well, here,
because the
let me
panic
try this
button,
for you. That come through?
no.
Okay, that's
Okay,
fine. Well, banging
cool.
desk is the answer.
Yeah. Okay. So there we go. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Carolina already did it for us this week by benching Bryce Young, and they're whoever their owner and coach are, they're just screwing around, I think, because that's not enough time to develop your quarterback.
See, because he's had 3 systems in 19 games.
Something like that,
They
man.
fired the
And
first coach after 11, gave the rest of the season for the second coach, then hired the third coach during the offseason. He got 2 games.
right.
But it's also this team has a minus 60 on point differential. So
Mm,
yeah, I agree. Panic time for the Panthers, and hopefully it will be like a Sam Darnold and a Baker Mayfield situation where once he's moved on from the Panthers, he'll get another chance and actually be able to show his talent. Panthers are just a horrible organization right now.
yeah. I don't know if we'll even pick them to win a game, but I mean, Andy Dalton's got experience, so maybe if they play a bad team, but
But it's also we
ooh,
don't know how long Andy Dalton's going to play
that's true. Behind that O line, this might be his career end.
because Andy Dalton played a few games last year and wasn't out or in long. I think it was when Bryce had. I think Bryce had some sort of injury issue. I just don't remember what it was. But going on to the second quarterback of topic, um, a guy you were looking at highly for the first half of last week. Since then, it's been a complete, I think I can say, shit show. Um, Tennessee Titans, more specifically, Will Levis.
Yeah, I mean, the dude's got the skill set to play quarterback. His decision making is just like off the rails.
There's at
So,
least
I
going to be
mean,
one, at least one, probably more play a game that he's going to kill a drive or give the other team points or lose
yep,
you points.
exactly.
Because right
Um,
now, they should be 2-0 right now.
they should be. And I
If Will
mean,
Levis didn't
he's
have the pick
young.
six and
Yep.
he didn't have that stupid fumble by the goal or in the red zone, we could be talking about a 2-0 Tennessee Titans and the Jets are 0-2, and we're talking about the Jets right now and the Bears. But I think I have the Bears up, so we'll get to them in a minute.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I still think the dude has the toolbox. I just think that he needs to know how to open it. So, and not throw them all to the other work. I don't even know the analogy. I'm just he's got what it takes to be a quarterback. He's just got to make better decisions. And I don't know if that's sitting in the film room with him for like the whole day, one of these every week, and just showing him, no, no, don't do this. Do this. Like I don't know. Because like you said, they should be 2-0.
and you can see the frustration starting to occur in that head coach.
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
He was yelling and screaming at the end of the plays.
but for some good things, kept Rodgers under 200 yards. I don't think Rodgers has had a game with 300 yards in like 1,000 days or some mess. Um,
Yep.
Pollard, 17 carries for 62 yards. Not amazing, but you can work with that. And then Calvin Ridley, 4 receptions, 77 yards, and a touchdown. You're starting to get
Yeah.
those pieces together. It's just Will Levis needs to play much better.
Like they should have won that game. They really should. They got all the leaders in the categories up there. So I mean,
And
it's just
sadly,
been the
just
turnovers.
in the AFC and um, Houston already being 2-0, and we'll get to your game with Houston when we get to the predictions video. But depending on your injuries, it could be Houston's 3-0, and I don't remember what. Oh, Packers versus Titans. So yeah, Titans could be easily 0-3 by the time we talk about this next week. Um,
Hmm.
if Will Levis can play better, I can see this team at least being competitive. Probably, especially with the AFC and how loaded it is, probably not a playoff team, but can at least steal a few wins from contenders and mess around with the playoff seeding. Um, Probably to the biggest surprise, Rams v Cardinals. Cardinals absolutely obliterated them. Marvin Harrison only had 4 catches. I think he had all of them in the first quarter, and that was it. For
Hmm.
130 yards, 2 touchdowns, absolutely obliterated the Rams defense. Kyler Murray, 17 to 21 for 266 yards, 3 TDs. Connor, 21 carries, 122 yards for a touchdown. It's the my biggest worry going into the year was the defense. And now with Puka and Cooper Cup at least out for several weeks, things could get bad really, or things could get late really early in the season for the Rams. So, what are you doing?
I don't. The Rams. I don't even think you trade at this point because you're just hurting your cap. I'm.
What do
I
you have to trade?
exactly. Like I don't know. I mean, you got to ride out the injuries. I mean, we still found a way to get some wins after we took so many injuries last year. So they got to hope they can do the same until they get their guys back.
But it's like they face
Um,
San Francisco next week. I forgot the rest of their games, but it's Bears, which depending on how their defense is doing and how the Bears are doing, that could potentially be a win. Packers, we believe that might be the first game Jordan Love is back, and Packers looked pretty good, especially in the run game against the Colts, which now we also both agree that the Colts run game is so far on a trend that it's probably going to be bottom five, if not bottom three, if not bottom one in rush defense. But
yeah.
they had issues with Connor, and I could see Josh Jacobs having the same effect. He looked good Sunday. Um, so it's one of those things. We'll see how those injuries play out, but they're going to need some wins, and especially if they can't pull any out before Cooper Cup and maybe Nakua get back, it's going to be they're going to have to play perfectly the rest of the season, which in the NFL it's hard to do. Only one team has gone 0-4 and made it to the playoffs. So it's one of those things you just can't play around early season, which we'll get to the Bengals, but it's a thing they've messed around with the past few years and have had several issues, especially when it comes to late season playoff seeding or making the playoffs, where that 0-2 starts hurt them. So we'll get to them when we get to them, but right now I'm not looking
You
good
know,
for the Rams.
I agree.
Well,
Alrighty.
speaking of, does both picks kind of suck? Could you see this is going off what we were doing, but could you see this being Sean Payton's last season if things continue to go the track they are?
Probably, and nothing would make me happier.
Because the Steelers basically pulled the we're not even playing with Russell Wilson, but we're playing better without Russell Wilson than you are playing without Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and
It's a weird
honestly,
tango in that, but
I'm happy for Fields because I think he's winning the starting job until he screws up. Like, if Russ is better, I don't think you put him in
unless
until Fields screws up.
once the Steelers go up against a good defense and Fields maybe struggles, we'll see what happens. Um, we'll see what happens. I just right now I agree with you that they're probably not putting Russell Wilson back in unless one he's 100% healthy and Fields is struggling, or Tomlin just feels that much better about Russ being in than Fields, which from what he said after training camp, it seemed like they were pretty close. And Justin hasn't done anything to lose the job yet. Um, you would like some more touchdowns, but it's one of those things just learning the system. He wasn't getting number one reps a lot. So one of those things
Yeah, and
is learning on the
he's
fly with
moving
that
the ball
system.
down the field and he's limiting
Yeah.
turnovers. So I mean, like that's what Pittsburgh needs.
And
So
that was his issue with the Bears last year was the turnovers. So even if he's just good enough, that's enough for the Steelers defense. I had to say TJ Watt is looking like a prime DPOY front runner right now because
yeah, him and
nobody
Aiden
else
Hutchinson
is
for sure.
destroying offenses like this man right now.
I mean, Aiden Hutchinson already has 5.5 sacks in his 2 games.
Okay, Aiden
But yeah,
Hutchinson's going to be in that battle, but you know what I'm going for.
yeah,
He's a one man wrecking crew on that defense. So we'll see what happens as we go throughout the year, but he's at least one of the front runners or favorites to win DPOY. I think you agree.
absolutely. He should have won it last year.
But did you say did you even answer my question?
Sean Payton, yeah, I
Yeah.
hope he's gone. He should be
That's
gone
fair.
after
All
the
right,
season.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the Bengals. That's a bad way to lose the same way twice in a
Yeah.
row to the Chiefs, to a penalty that moves the ball forward and then that puts Bucker in field goal range. Because here's the issue. Yes, the Bengals made some mistakes, including the fumble, but Mahomes went 18 of 25, 151, two touchdowns, two INTs. Um, Not a great day for Mahomes, and you still can't win.
And that was his worst game playing a full 4 quarters. His only other worst game was him not even playing a full 4 quarters of ball. So
And especially when the
says a lot.
Bengals play their best against the Chiefs,
Yeah.
kind of worried. So, are you pressing the button? Are you panicking yet, or giving them more
I mean,
time?
if I'm a Bengals fan, I'm not because all the Bengals fans are screaming that there was a 2-on-1 because the refs are on Kansas City's team, which I've always been an advocate of. Um,
That was a clear pass interference, though, and you can't deny that.
yeah, that one, is different, but there's what, 15 games in a row or something where Kansas City has been penalized less than opposing teams. And I mean, I don't know, man. It's just a thing that they won a few cop out games last year, and we'll see what happens this year. Um, but no, I mean they're showing they're vulnerable. Cincinnati always loses week one, so really they're only 0-1 right now. So nah, give him more time. I will
I
say though,
think
Chase is just giving me more reasons to dislike him. He just hurt them with penalties in
because
that
one,
game.
that wasn't a hip drop tackle, and then
Yeah.
you can't say that type of stuff to the ref. We don't know specifically what he said, but it was enough to get that penalty, which that's just unacceptable.
Yeah, exactly. And
So the two
that's
penalties
yeah.
that they're going off of, I don't see it. I can see in some other games where maybe the Chiefs got lucky on a call, But this was a game the Bengals did it to themselves, and they need to learn from this because you can't make the same mistake a third time,
Yeah. No, I
especially if it's
mean,
in the
with all
playoffs.
these questions, you got to think about it if you're a Bengals fan or if you're in the Bengals organization. So I'm not saying this as an outsider. I'm saying this trying to take myself into that organization.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I don't think it's, I mean, you're like you're acknowledging the button's existence at this point, but you're not getting near it or pressing it yet.
If you go 0-3, then it's a worry, and then it's an issue
Yeah.
because at some point
Um,
you need to get. Now, the only good thing is Ravens are 0-2. We'll get to them. Cleveland's 1-1. The Steelers are 2-0, which they might still be competitive, but I don't think you and me believe that this will be the way things shape out for the rest of the year.
Somebody's gonna figure out how to get past the defense, or they're gonna figure out how to fluster Fields.
Well, it's
So,
basically that scoring 13 to 18 points isn't enough.
yeah.
Well, speaking of not scoring touchdowns, where are they? How about the Giants being the only second team in history to score three touchdowns, not give up a touchdown,
And still
and
lose.
still lose? Giants, I have this is as I would say Daniel Jones usually, but 16 to 28, 178 for two touchdowns ain't horrible. Neighbors got 10 receptions for 127, one TD.
Yep.
Singletary, 16 carries, 95 yards on a TD. This is the Giants as an organization, knowing your kicker's hurt going into the game. It was reported they knew before the game, before going in on Sunday, I believe, that he was hurt.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable. Because if you had a kicker, it would have at least been tied. And you could have probably gotten a field goal. So I didn't really pay much attention to this game, but I'm sure there's somewhere they could have gotten a field goal.
Probably. It just shows you some oddities though, because this is Daniel Jones like 60 something start, and Bryce Young was benched in the second year. So I mean, they're just still holding on to that little eensy beensy little hope, or they're just riding it out. But I mean, like you said, it wasn't even that bad of a game, but the future's not there. We've agreed
Yeah.
on that. But anyway, this video is getting long enough, so let's just talk about Baltimore. They need to get their offense together, if I'm being honest. Like they started using Henry more, which is good, but they still aren't using him as much as they should. And by the end, their defense was just gassed and they started giving up everything to Devontae Adams, and Gardner Minshew just had himself a day, mainly in the second half. But I think I'm getting near the panic button, but I don't think I'm pressing it because Baltimore has the roster to completely just, win a bunch of games this year. So they just gotta keep getting it together under the new coordinators.
I'm pressing
Um
the panic button until they show they can learn who the hell they are. Derrick Henry, I think, has only had three or so carries in the fourth quarter in two games. I get for the Chiefs game, you were down, you're trying to get back, and you can't waste time with Mahomes because Mahomes will find a way to bleed out that clock if you give him the chance to. But for a game you're beating the Raiders and you only give him the ball one time in the fourth quarter,
Yep.
that's inexcusable. And what was the excuse coming out of that Chiefs game in the conference championship? We didn't run the ball enough. What was the excuse last week? We didn't run the ball enough. What was the excuse this week? You didn't give the ball to the guy you brought in to deal with that issue.
Yep.
Like
Disrespectful to the king.
the one drive they used him for, they went down and scored a touchdown. Keep doing that. Because you're saving Lamar Jackson from getting hit. Bad thing is in the freaking Chiefs game last week, it looked like there was just two Lamar Jacksons on the field at the same size. But it's frustrating because this team has more talent, but the bigger issue is I think it's we're going to be looking back at the season as the same thing happened to the Eagles as it did the Ravens. They lost players and they lost their defensive coordinator. What have they not been able to do so far? Play defense.
Yep.
And oh, give your brother a
Um,
call because the offensive coordinator that you fired last year probably has the way to get your offense running again. Run the damn ball.
amen.
Okay,
All
going on
right.
to the Colts real quick. We'll run through these real quick. Colts specifically about Richardson, 17 to 34, 3 picks, and their run defense because 151 yards to Josh Jacobs is just inexcusable. So, yes or no?
I need to see more. They
Also, give
played the
Josh Taylor
Texans.
the ball.
They
12
played the
carries.
Texans week one, so
Um, Eagles with that whole system, specifically that coaching staff, because I don't know what they're doing anymore.
I mean that was hard to watch, but it was as much as people hate the play call on 3rd and 3. I think it was the right call,
Oh,
and
Saquon
it
just
was
needs to catch the ball there.
yeah. I mean, it was perfect execution. That throw could not have been better, and Saquon just didn't catch it. So
It's
I
not
mean,
what it's. Should have clarified. I'm not going after the call. It's all of the stuff in the post game interviews where the coach was like, "Oh well, the OC made that call." Blah blah
oh
blah.
yeah, there's some tensions in there. I agree, but I mean, we'll see how it is later in the season.
Okay,
I
two more
just
games before we get to ours. Caleb Williams did not look good, and probably didn't help that I think on all but one of his dropbacks, he was pressured.
laughs in rest of NFC North.
Are you pressing the panic button?
No, I want him to start every single game. That's as a Vikings fan. I mean, he has the best situation a Chicago quarterback has had, arguably this century, and it's not off to a good start.
And their defense is
I
weak.
mean,
That's not the issue.
yeah,
Like
like
even
he's
for
got a
giving
great
up
defense to back
19
him up. He's
points,
got great receivers. It's just the O line, and it's just like, but that was the whole point of why they drafted him was because he can scramble and everything. But I think he's finding out just how different the NFL is than college, and I I don't know. I mean, again, it's only 2 games, so we got to see more. But I
it's
mean, if you're
not off to
Chicago,
a
you're
hot
you're
start.
like, here we go again. I've seen this movie before. We're ruining another quarterback. Yay us.
So Tyler, checking to see if you still them boys.
We still done, boys.
Zimmer
The Cowboys are
still
not.
looks like he's out of date with the league, which I'll give him a couple more games, just scheming wise, whatever. But I don't think this is scheme. This is personnel where you have pass rushers, but you don't have run defenders or run stuffers. They don't want
Absolutely not.
to deal with stopping the run. They just want to go for sacks.
I mean, that's
It's
been Micah Parsons' prerogative pretty much his whole career. So
and I think this is the first time that a home team has given up like 40 plus points in two straight home games ever. Actually, no, since the Steelers did in like 69 or something like that.
right. So something relevant in a year that's relevant now. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. There's a lot of suspicion with just tons of teams in the league this year. I mean, teams that we didn't think were gonna be that great, like even both of our teams, Patriots, the Saints. obviously. The Buccaneers, we thought they were going to be decent, but not this good. Like they just beat the Lions. So it's just like teams we didn't think that were going to be world beaters are looking like the best teams in the NFL right now. So, I mean, we really don't know because it's only 2 weeks. So, because right now, the three best teams in the NFC are our teams and the Saints. And if I were a betting man, I probably wouldn't say that's gonna be the case at the end of the season.
So I could see the Saints still being up there, especially with that division. Speaking of the Saints, let's just give the Saints their flowers for a minute. Two INTs off Dak Prescott. Derek Carr only throwing 16 passes, completing 11, 243 yards, two touchdowns. Alvin Kamara, welcome back, my man. 20
Yep.
carries, 115 yards, three TDs. Like I only
If
so much I could
Kamara could
say.
face Zimmer's defense every day, every week, he would absolutely do it, and he would win Super Bowl MVP
Also getting three
because
sacks on Dak, held them to 3.2 yards per rush. Like just a
yeah,
great day at the office.
Kamara's played Zimmer's defense 3 times in his career, and he scored 12 touchdowns.
Okay,
Six
so
of them in one game, four of them on Sunday, and two of them in the other game.
Saints are like, can we please keep playing the Cowboys? Like, I beg you.
Absolutely. But yeah, the Saints are definitely looking great. Like I agree, and Demario Davis is one of the most underrated defensive players in the league. So I mean, they've got the pieces. Derek Carr just has to keep playing like this, and I mean, hopefully they can keep him calm under pressure because that was the main thing last year. Pressure too much, didn't stay calm, and then eventually got hurt, and that was the whole derailing last year. So they can stay like that, they'll be doing well.
Funniest
Moving on
thing
though,
is right now, real quick, comeback player of the year, either Derek Carr or Alvin Kamara. MVP race, um, Josh Allen, Derek Carr.
Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold might be sneaking in there for comeback player of the year. Just saying.
That's fair. All right. Yeah, because Derek Carr at least played last year. Okay, Sam Darnold's in the mix, at least I'll give you
I
that.
was going to say Sam Darnold played in like 2 games, and that was when the 49ers were either leading by a ton or trailing by a ton, that being the
Uh,
Ravens game. So
I'll let you talk about your game real quick, then I'll talk about mine and we'll wrap it up.
sounds good. Okay. I already have exactly what I want to say because for once, we are considered the best defense in the league, and I do not think that is going to continue. But holy crap. Last week, I said if we somehow manage to pull off this win, it will be a successful season. So, in my eyes, it is already a successful season. I don't give a crap what happens now. I just love this statement win. Just my gosh, nobody wanted to give us any credit. Nobody wanted to give us any chance to win this game whatsoever. And we did it. Apparently, San Francisco has never won in Minnesota since 1992.
Yeah,
So,
they can't beat y'all in Minnesota.
yep, did not know that stat, but I'm glad it continues. Um, so the big thing here was the coaching. Offensively, Kevin O'Connell outcoached Shanahan, and defensively, Brian Flores in the second half, he went into that locker room and he was like, "Here's what we need to do. Guys, go do it." And they did it. Holy crap. But overall, as a defense, we had the Niners 2 of 10 on third down. They had one rushing yard on third down. We got 6 sacks during the game, which is a career high for Purdy. We forced an interception, we forced a fumble, we forced 2 turnovers on downs, and we blocked a punt, which is just amazing coaching defensively and on special teams. The only thing we failed on special teams was to recover their muffed punt. They ended up falling back on it after it bounced around a couple times. That was really the only miscue, but with a bunch of guys flying in like that, it's bound to, be a roll of the dice for who gets it. So I'm not really going to blame that on anybody. But I mean, we currently lead the league in sacks. We're second highest in pressure and QB hits. and we also are tied for second with the least points allowed, which we're behind the Chargers, I believe. Um, and I mean, granted, you can see one of them right there. They allowed three to the Carolina Panthers. So, I mean, it's just crazy. Patrick Jones is our third string edge rusher, and he's been with us for a couple years. He's had 42 starts before this season and had 5 sacks. He's already got four in 2 weeks, and that's tied for the second highest of any player this season, behind Aiden Hutchinson as well, who I mentioned earlier. So he's breaking out this year. I'm so glad we didn't trade him because everybody wanted to trade him for like a third round pick. Um, and so I'm just happy to see everybody coming out. But this was a team win for the defense, especially. I mean, the offense did well on pretty much all phases too. But the thing that impressed me the most, yeah, we had the Jefferson 97-yard touchdown, which by the way, go look at Jalen Naylor during that play. I know it sounds odd, right? To go look at a receiver who wasn't scoring the touchdown, but from how far back he was, from Justin Jefferson catching that ball and him being able to sprint all the way in front of Jefferson to throw the key block that gets him in the end zone. That dude's fast. And like he caught the second touchdown in the game, and he is filling in the role for Addison nicely, and he's who I predicted would be a breakout player for us if he stays healthy, and our wide receiver three. He has a touchdown in both games. But thing that impressed me the
Tyler,
most
I'm
was
I'm happy for you. I'm going to let you
yeah,
finish. But on that
yeah.
97-yard drive, did you see that ref speed though? Someone sign that
Oh
man.
yeah,
Get him on a contract.
absolutely. He was running for a contract. Holy crap. I saw him too. But yeah,
Someone needs
I
to
feel like
like,
just nobody's talking about the Naylor thing though.
yeah,
Nobody's talking about how fast he caught up to him. Like that's some Chiefs uh crap right there. Um and or Miami now with being the fastest team. But the thing that impressed me the most, we're up 20-10, I believe. 20-14, something like that. And we need a field goal. We need to score. And we're out Justin Jefferson. We're out Aaron Jones because he's cramping up. And obviously we're out Addison and Hawkinson. So we basically have Jalen Naylor, and then we've got a bunch of wide receiver fours. So with that being said, and our running back too, Sam Darnold stays calm in the pocket. Like, and this is after the interception as well. Like the interception happened early in the game, but he just is able to shake it off like it doesn't matter. And he drives us down the field, hitting people in stride, throwing dots to our receivers, and we were able to kick the much needed field goal to go up 2 scores. And that was what impressed me the most because it's just like with basically none of the star players, Sam Darnold is still able to will us against one of the best defenses in the league. And if Fred Warner wasn't Fred Warner, we would have beaten this team by 3 scores. Like Fred Warner definitely showed up. Um, Happy that Ty Chandler's breaking out. I'm almost done. Um, Jefferson was telling the truth. He was quoted last week saying, "Even when I'm doubled, I'm always open." He proved that. 97-yard touchdown. He was doubled. His other 3 catches, he was doubled. So definitely proved that. And then, man, like I said, Jalen Naylor has been amazing. And sure, 49ers players will say we didn't have Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, that's your only player you're missing. We're missing our wide receiver two. We're missing our tight end one. And there in the fourth quarter, we were missing Jefferson and Aaron Jones for part of it. So, yeah, go ahead and try me a river because you're missing one of your star players. If that's who you need to win, then you're not a good team. So the fans are wrong because San Francisco is still a legit team. But for us to go that far without a lot of our key players, I'm proud of the team. The defense just flies around. Brock Purdy even went up to Brian Flores after and was like, dude, that scheme is insane. So, one of my favorite quotes, and I just still can't believe we won. And I'm going to be on a personal high after this whole season, honestly. So, without further ado, I will give that to you. Sorry for the long rant, but I did say that I would have to believe this if I saw it. And what do you know? It happened.
I'm gonna have to push back on you on one thing. If Justin Jefferson got hurt and that was your reason that the Vikings wouldn't win, are the Vikings a bad team then?
But would we have Addison and Hawkinson
Yes.
in this scenario?
Yes.
No, because we proved that last year. We beat Minnesota. Minnesota beat San Francisco without Jefferson last year, but we had Addison and Hawkinson. But
So
this
San
time we're
Fran at
out
least beat the Jets last week without Christian
without
McCaffrey.
McCaffrey. Yeah, and they play us without McCaffrey, but we're also down a bunch of key players as well. Like the Jets had all their skill players. They had Brees Hall. They had uh all the guys they needed. Alan Lazard still playing. Like I think Mike Williams was only in a few snaps, but that's at the offensive coordinator's discretion, right? But he was there. He showed up for the game. We legitimately did not have Addison or Hawkinson, and Jefferson left halfway through the third quarter and didn't come back with the deep quad bruise. So I mean, you're out your three best offensive weapons. And like I said, Aaron Jones started cramping up in the fourth quarter as well. So he was out for a good portion of it. So it's like four best players are basically out on that must score drive. Like imagine Seattle being out DK, JSN, Lockett, and Walker for a drive. Do you guys think you're scoring on the 49ers defense?
I zoned out on which players you were saying, but
If you're out Kenneth Walker, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and JSN. Are you marching down the field on San Francisco and kicking a field goal?
okay, you're not missing your top three wide receivers.
In the fourth quarter, we were missing our top three because TJ Hawkinson is a top three receiver in our
That's a
in
tight
our
end.
offense. Yeah, but he's a top three tight end in the league, and he's not three.
That's still a tight end though, Tyler.
All right, man. Whatever you want to say. But TJ Hawkinson has career highs, and he's such a good receiving weapon. I mean, because you guys don't have a tight end equal to his level. So that's why I was saying, like, let's throw in another one of your receivers for the analogy.
But we've had this discussion before about tight ends aren't receivers. They're tight
Yeah,
ends.
so pass catcher, whatever. Like, yeah, but we have an elite tight end. You guys have serviceable tight ends, but you don't have an elite one. Like we have a Hawkinson. There's a Kelsey out there. There's a Kittle. There's a Mark Andrews when he decides to show up, or when Lamar Jackson decides to target him. There's Sam Laporta. There's Kincaid, right? Those are the top tier tight ends, and only half of who I mentioned actually have like years and years of proving they can do it time and time again. So, I mean, they're elite pass catchers, and Kittle is the best of both worlds. So, I mean, in my opinion, he's the best tight end. But if you want to talk receiving tight ends, Kelsey's obviously first, and then TJ Hawkinson. But yeah, anyway, it's not I get what you're saying. It's not that cut and dry, but TJ Hawkinson is our third best offensive player. So possibly even second above Addison. So, like I said, since Aaron Jones wasn't in on the drive either, and that's our four best offensive weapons. So for you, that would be Kenneth Walker, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and JSN. Without your four best offensive weapons, are you marching down the field and kicking a field goal on the Niners defense?
Jake Bobo, you're not ready for him.
Dude, I've been rooting for him. He's the Adam Thielen of your team. Um,
Bobo can surprise some people. Also, we have Chenault, which is a speedy demon. Um, we also have Charbonnet, which I guess I'll get into my game now.
yeah. Anyway, my game was impressive. You're not taking that away. Um,
You
and
keep
yeah,
saying I
hopefully you
am,
would
but
be
I
able to march
haven't.
down. So, um, yeah, no, it's a great win. On to your win.
Okay, then. Um, Patriots are definitely not going to be the number one pick this year. I was wrong about that. I think you picked them too. We were both wrong about that.
Yep.
Um, this is a well coached team. And I'm not just saying that because it was tough to beat them. Like we've seen them already beat the Bengals, which took the Chiefs to the brink this weekend. Now, I get week one Burrow's the worst quarterback in probably NFL history, but that's a whole nother discussion. This is a well coached team, only had three penalties all game. That's crazy in today's NFL with all the false starts, all the holding, all the pass interference, all the QB protection. Only three penalties the whole game. And they're going to be able to run on some people because Seattle had some issues. And I think this run D is way more improved. Still a few things that need to be fixed. The linebacker situation with those injuries. Um, Knight's going to have to come in and probably play some meaningful snaps, the rookie. So hopefully he can take this experience and grow. And this is a good, wouldn't say good trial by fire, but it is trial by fire. And hopefully he can rise to that occasion and learn from it. Um, McDonald's still implementing his defensive scheme, and Grub, our OC's reportedly still implementing the whole offensive scheme. They're both doing it slowly. They're not trying to force it on this team and shove it down their throats, which I like. Slowly incorporate it. So, one, people can't be ready for everything you have. Two, it just lets things flow better instead of, okay, these were my top 10 plays at Washington. You need to learn these plays and we need to get them perfect and we're going to do them every single game. Also, I would just like to say Shane Waldron for the Chicago Bears OC. I think I've been proven right so far on that, but different discussion for a different day. Geo Smith played pretty well. Took three sacks, I believe, but no INTs this time. 33 of 44 for 327 and a TD. Charbonnet, 14 carries for 38 yards and a TD. He struggled a bit, but as the game slowly moved on, I feel like he gained his confidence. The O line started to gain his confidence. K9 versus Charbonnet's two different down backs. Charbonnet's more of the I want to take contact and get yards, where K9's more of he wants to bounce around and try to find a hole or be able to bounce out or bounce in into any holes to get yards. So, especially with the O line having a few issues, especially with injuries so far, it was a bit more difficult for Charbonnet. And I feel like New England has a might not be an elite defense, but I still say it's probably going to be middle of the pack type of defense. Um, but it was good to see that on a day that the running game wasn't able to get going, Geno Smith and those wide receivers were able to do what they needed to win. Most of the time, if our run game's not working, we're screwed and it's not going to be a good day. Geno for 327 yards, DK Metcalf and Jason having themselves a day. And Tyler Lockett going into the overtime period only had one catch for -1 yard the entire game. And for the second week in a row, which both games he didn't really, I think even in the first game, he only had like one or two catches before the final catch from Geno Smith on the third down play against the Broncos to seal the game. Tyler Lockett caught both of Geno Smith's last passes in both games, which I don't know if you remember, but coming into the season, this is what I was hoping for, where Tyler Lockett, we can start taking that volume down. There's talks he might be retiring after this year, which will be very sad to see, but he's getting up there in age and his time is probably getting to the end. I know contracts were starting to become a thing this offseason. Luckily, we were able to restructure it to the point he could stay on the squad for this year. Next year might not be so lucky. But JSN, 16 targets, caught 12 of them for 117 yards. TK had a 56-yard bomb where he just basically ran past the defense off of a defensive bust. Um, but 10 carries, 129 yards. Had a massive showing after week one where he was pretty quiet. And honestly, I think this is one of his best games early in the season. Usually, early in the season, he's not getting this much. So great to see that. Funny thing is, Seattle's receivers had five drops today. Noah Fant, or for that day. Noah Fant had one, DK Metcalf had two, JSN had one. If they had caught those passes, Geno Smith would have been 38 of 44. That's insane. And the defensive line, while having some issues with the Patriots run game, Jacoby Brissett was under pressure half of his dropbacks all game. We got 3 sacks. Probably would have had more if he wasn't so elusive and was able to basically slip himself out of some sacks. Um, the rookie, Byron Murphy, the second, got his first half a sack. So great to see him. Wasn't really one of those like breakout games, but it was at least one of those games like, okay, I'm starting to see him become a problem on that screen every time he's on defense, where you're not going to be able to just one man cover him, where sometime down the road, he's going to be an issue. And there was the play he got the half sack on, he just bull rushed through and they couldn't do anything on that play to stop him. So liking what I'm seeing. Hopefully we can get this defense and offensive line healthy. Um, Witherspoon and Woolen had kind of quiet days, but especially for how many times they ran 36 times and they only passed 27 times, but only had 15 completions. And it was a lot of short throws, especially to Hunter Henry, which had 8 catches for 109 yards out of those 149 yards. So you weren't having much from the wide receivers from the Patriots, which brings me to believe a part of that was from the secondary being able to hold up on the back end. So
And
this
them
is
not
one of
really
those.
having good receivers, but yeah.
What are you saying?
And them not really having good receivers. I should say wide receiver ones because KJ Osborne, shout out to you, but
And
they
Jalen
don't
Polk's
really
a
have
good
a wide
rookie
receiver
from
one.
Washington. So I feel like as he grows, we didn't really talk about him much. He had flown under the radar in the draft for me, but I think he can be
Right.
one of those
But
players.
y'all held them anyway. It's what y'all should have done. So did their jobs.
Yeah, he only had 2 receptions for 12 yards. He did have one of the only TDs of the game, but KJ Osborne only had 1 catch for 7 yards. Um, yeah, that's it for their wide receivers. Everything else was either tight ends or running backs. There was a lot of dump offs. Um,
Yep.
and that's going to be one of those things where we need to later in the season. One, we just need to. I feel like we got a little cocky over the week where last week we were not giving up a lot of yards after catch. This week we were having some issues, but McDonald had. I'm loving his press conferences so far. Last week he was happy to get his first win. No blame there. This week it was we've got stuff to improve, and I'm liking. I love Pete Carroll, but a lot of time he was just happy for a win, which in the NFL it's hard to win. There's
Hmm.
several teams that would be loving to have Seattle's record right now, but just knowing we need to get better, and especially the talent we're going to be facing later in the season. This is a good win, but this needs to be a building block, not the standard. Which so far I'm liking what I'm seeing as long as things keep getting better. And luckily, we don't have to go through the nightmare of what Sunday was looking like, but we'll get to that in the predictions video. But I think that's going to be about it for both of us.
I agree. Dude, we beat the Niners. That's all I'm probably gonna mention that every week. Like we could get blown out by a team 60-0, and I'll still be like, dude, we beat the Niners.
Also, especially with the Seahawks and Vikings be at top of their divisions,
Oh
definitely
yeah.
probably won't be that way. But damn, we're gonna be holding on to that.
Exactly. We can for the first week, because last week we were tied for the top. This week we're
Yeah.
unequivocally the top of the division because everyone else in our division is either 1-1 or 2 or 0-2.
And
So,
we're two of the top four teams record wise. I wouldn't say we're two of the top four teams talent or skill wise, but a record is the record, and that's all that matters once it gets to the playoffs. This isn't no
yep,
college football or college basketball where we're going by talent. This is what's your record by the end of the season. And right now, 2-0 is 2-0, and we can only play who's in front of us. So
exactly. Play who's on your schedule. And I love that we got a dub against one of the toughest ones on ours. Like that's the main thing. Is like on to the next one. Hopefully we have some easier tests in front of us, but next 2 weeks gonna be tough, and then our we won't hopefully we won't have our tough gauntlet till the last 3 weeks. So see what happens.
sounds good.
But with that, sure more craziness is to come with week 3, and we will see you then.
Peace.
Skull.